Hello students, welcome to your science class. You all know we are learning chapter 9, the living organisms, characteristics and habitats of your NCERT science textbook. Nature, environment and its beauty. You always have a lot more to learn about these things even though we have a great knowledge about nature. Not only human beings, but all living organisms have their own exclusive characteristics as per their habitat. So let's begin today's class. Habitat and adaptation. In the previous classes, we clearly learned the meaning and definition of these words. Habitat means home. It is a place where an organism live and grow. Adaptation is developing features of an organism to survive in its habitat. The proper definition for adaptation is the presence of specific features or certain habits of an organism which enables it to live naturally in its own way in a place or in its habitat is called adaptation. Now you understand what is adaptation. We learned that there are a variety of habitats. The two major habitats explained are terrestrial habitats and aquatic habitats. And these adaptations of an organism differ and depend on the place they actually live in. The both biotic and abiotic factors influence its body adaptations. But adaptations of an organism have been developed in its nature or in itself for an organism over several hundreds and thousands of years. What about if we move to a different place for a shorter period? What kind of changes occur to our body and what is this phenomenon is called? Usually, some changes happen in an organism for over short period of time. These changes are to adjust for survival according to that surroundings. For example, if we live in humid conditions like cities, and if we suddenly go on a trip to high mountain regions, we may experience breathing difficulty due to the high altitudes. To keep ourselves warm, our metabolic rates increase and we breathe faster at such places. And after few days, even our body adjusts to the changed conditions. And the changes that take place in body for short periods to adjust to the new surroundings is called acclimatizations. These changes are completely different to those which are seen in an organism native to that place or that has adaptations to that particular habitat. Acclimatization is different to that of adaptations usually because these acclimatization is the changes that occur in an organism for shorter period. We already learnt about biotic and abiotic components that are plants and animals. And the plants, we already learnt about biotic and abiotic components where the plants and animals are biotic components and the non-living things like soil, air, water, minerals, etc. are the abiotic components. In the beginning of this chapter only, I have mentioned that life exists in association with the living and non-living components. In the previous class, we learned that both biotic and abiotic components together make the ecosystem. You all know plants grow from seeds. We sow in the soil. Let us understand how the influence of abiotic factors is seen on the seeds as they grow into young plants. Let us understand this concept by learning an activity. You might be knowing how sprouts are usually very healthy and are suggested to take during your breakfast or with your meal. We usually make sprouts from moong dal and chana seeds. The point at which a seed turns into a sprout is said to be the germination time. Once the seed gets germinated, we understand that it is the beginning of life of a new plant. And because a seed germinates into a sprout grows into a young sapling develops into a young plant which further grows into a tree. Let us understand this beginning of a new life of a plant and the effect of abiotic factors on it by performing an activity. First, you collect some dry moong seeds, which is also commonly called as green gram. Second, keep few seeds aside and soak them in water for 1 day. Now, divide these soaked moong dal into 4 parts. In the fourth step, collect 1 part and submerge it completely in water for at least 3 to 4 days. This you will do with the first soaked part of the seeds. Leave them undisturbed during the whole time. Next, take the other part of soaked seeds and spread them on a surface or in a bowl and keep them in a sunny room or in a fully ventilated room. Take the other part and store them in a completely dark room or in a cupboard where the light does not come in. Now take the last fourth part of the soaked seeds and keep it in a refrigerator or in a very cold place. Rinse these seeds and replace the water in the bowl or jar every day. After 3 to 4 days, what do you observe in this activity? Do all the seeds of all the 4 different parts germinate uniformly? Or is there any difference in their germination rate or the speed of germination? What do you observe? Perform this activity at home and record your observations clearly. There will be definitely a difference in the rate of germination in the 4 different parts of the soaked seeds. During the observation, you will definitely see a difference. After performing the activity, you will realize that the abiotic factors like the air, water, light and heat affect the growth of a seed to grow into a plant, and also for the plant growth. Not only for the plants, but also the abiotic factors are very important for the growth of all the living organisms. Like we understood in the previous activity we learned, living organisms are present everywhere, even in the worst of the extreme climatic conditions. In extremely hot conditions and also in extremely cold conditions. But how do they live in such conditions? It is by the method of adaptation which an organism has developed in its characteristics over several years of time. Thus, they are very well adjusted to those climatic conditions. Like I am repeating again and again, adaptations of an organisms have not been developed in a short period of time. It took several years because even the abiotic factors are not even constant in one place. They also change very slowly over some period of time. Life depends upon the motto of the survival of the fittest. Those who fit in those organisms which can adapt to the changes of its body to that particular place can survive, and those which cannot adapt to the conditions to its surroundings, they usually die. They cannot fit into that place. Organisms adapt to different abiotic factors in different ways. This results in a wide variety of organisms in different habitats. In the coming classes, let us learn about different habitats, adaptations of different animals, and also the influence of abiotic factors on them. Thank you, students.